Hi everyone, I am Dr. Sulekha Rao, Assistant Professor, Bhavan Sri Lavati Munshi College of Education. Today I take the topic from the B.Ed course. The course title is Assessment of Learning. The topic is from Unit 3 Statistical Methods and Interpretation of Scores. So if you have seen my previous video, in that I have just discussed about the preliminary part of statistics, just like what is data, different types of data, and how you can tabulate or record the data in different manner. So this slide, this video is also, it is a continuation of that particular video. So there we have seen that how to tabulate the data in a frequency distribution table. So this video, we are preparing the graphical representation of data. So whatever the data which is represented using different types of table can be expressed in graphical form. So according to the syllabus, we have only 3 representation. Even there are many number of representation as there. So particularly we are sticking to only that particular 3 graphical representation here. So in this particular session, we are going to see what is histogram, frequency polygon, and pie chart. Pie chart or pie diagram sometimes we will use, and how to construct it, and what is the benefit of representing the data in this graphical representation. So what is meant by histogram? And it's a type of column diagram. So you have studied bar diagram, that is also one type of column diagram. But according to syllabus, here we are discussing only the histogram. So histogram, it is the most common diagrammatic representation of grouped frequency data. So this histogram we will use only for grouped data, and this adjacent, this is the picture which is made up of adjacent rectangles on a common baseline. The base of each rectangle measures the class width, whereas the height measures the frequency density. So if you have a frequency distribution table, so we will be preparing the class intervals, then the corresponding frequency. The last session, we saw that how to prepare the frequency distribution table. So using the particular table, we can draw the histogram. It's a very simple technique. There is no any rigorous type of drawing or calculation like that. Whatever the classes are given, and if you have a graph paper, you can draw it very easily. So in the histogram, the scores are assumed to be spread uniformly over the entire interval. The second graphical representation, it is frequency polygon. So frequency polygon we can construct in 2 ways, using this histogram and without using the histogram. So if you are using the histogram, you draw the histogram of the data first, then just join the midpoints of the horizontal side of bars by a straight line. Suppose you are not using histogram, you take the midpoint of each class interval on the x-axis and the corresponding frequencies on the y-axis. Then you join that points with a straight line, and you have to take care of that. It is a frequency polygon. Polygon means it's a many-sided closed figure. So in order to make it close, so we will, after getting the frequency polygon, we will extend the both ends of the frequency polygon to the previous or succeeding class intervals, midpoint of class interval, assuming that the frequency is 0. So you will see the figure in the next slide. So how to draw it, and we will explain with with an example. So that time you can understand it very clearly. The two end points of a frequency polygon are joined to the baseline at the mid values of the empty classes at the end of the frequency distribution. So at the left side and right side, you have to join it in order to make it close, because polygon, it is a closed figure. So if you see or if you compare frequency polygon and histogram, so whenever one benefit of using this frequency polygon is there, so we can compare 2 or 3 class performance. Suppose you are collecting the marks of the students as a teacher. Suppose you wanted to compare the performance of 2 classes. Suppose you are teaching the same subject in 2 different classes, or for different subject, the same class itself, different subject. So we can, in a single graph, we can draw many frequency polygons so that you can compare the data. So when 2 or more frequency distributions are to be compared, the relative frequency polygon are constructed against the same set of axes. So any difference in the shape of these distributions becomes visible. So that is the main advantage of using this frequency polygon than this histogram. So both this representation or graphical representation we are using only for grouped data. So you collected the marks of the students in your class. Then you have to prepare the first you prepare the frequency distribution table. After that, you can represent it in a very in a graphical representation, so that it is very easy to understand by, and it is very easy to explain also what will be the conclusion. Here I have taken one example. Suppose this is a marks obtained for any subject. So within the limit 25 to, so maximum mark I have taken to 75, and minimum marks 25, because assuming that there nobody got less than that, means that less than 33%. And the right side, it is written the number of students, those who got the marks. So suppose you are getting the data as a raw data. Suppose you are directly collecting from your class. So then the data will be a raw data. So in the previous session, we have discussed how to prepare a frequency distribution table. So now the frequency distribution table is ready here. Now we will see just to draw the graph. So here histogram and frequency polygon I have taken together. So the class intervals are represented along the x-axis and the corresponding frequency on the y-axis. Here the maximum frequency is 10. So the y-axis I have taken the scale as 2 divisions as 2 frequency. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And below we have taken the limits of the class interval. Here I have given a break from the beginning in order to show that the 25 to 30, that is the 5 gap is there, and the origin, that is 0. So 0 to 25, there is 25 divisions are there, but for the convenience we have started from 25. So in order to show that that gap is not same, I have taken a break. So whenever you start a graph, keep it in mind that if you are not starting from the 0 itself, you give a break in order to show that it is not starting from the beginning. So here the limits are, then you take the corresponding frequency, then you draw the, it should be adjacent. So histogram, it is an adjacent rectangle, so there should not be any gap. So that is why if you are, we are using the grouped data, and data should be continuous also. So there are continuous grouped data as well as non-continuous. If you have given a non-continuous data, you have to make it into continuous. So always remember that the data classes should be continuous, then only you can draw the histogram. Then on the histogram, I have drawn the frequency polygon. It is very easy to draw. You just take the midpoint of that rectangle, then join it by a straight line. Suppose you are not using this histogram, you take only the midpoint of the class interval and join it using a straight line. Then you extend the starting point and ending point to the base, so that the previous class the frequency is 0 and the last succeeding class the frequency is 0. Remember that frequency polygon, it is a closed figure. Just observe the figure. Here it is, frequency is taken on the y-axis. You can take in the reverse order also, but I think it will be very convenient to explain or interpret. So if you are taking frequency on the y-axis, the figure will be in the vertical way. It doesn't make any difference. So this is only the frequency polygon, but here I have drawn it using the Excel sheet, but the classes. So it is written 25 to 30, 30 to 35, means it is written in very together. But when you draw, you need to write only the limits once. So here 25 to 30 is the midpoint is taken, 35 to 40. Every classes the midpoint is taken. So if you see only the frequency polygon, the shape will be here, and here you have to extend the both ends of the polygon in order to make it a closed figure. So this is the shape of the frequency polygon. Now we come to pie diagram. So pie diagram, sometimes we will call it as pie chart also. Here pie chart we can use for grouped data as well as ungrouped data also. If suppose we need to represent our passing percentage of students in every year. So it is coming in year. So for example, 92, 93, 94 like that. You can, so that time also we can use this pie diagram. Here, suppose according to us, we are collecting the marks. So we are using the same data what I have showed you for this frequency polygon and histogram. We are using the same data in order to draw the pie diagram also. But here pie diagram we can use for both grouped and ungrouped data. So the speciality of this is the circle. A circle whose area is divided into proportionally among the different components. And it is used to represent grouped as well as ungrouped data. And why we are using in order to compare the category, each category to the total. Means total area is divided into different sectors. So each sector, how much it is bigger, yeah, what percentage of that particular sector when you compare to the total area. So circle represents the total and each sector represents the each category. So here, the previous example, you can take each category, that is just like 25 to 30, how many students are there? 30 to 35, that you can take as the category. Then we have seen different examples of statistics, yeah, data, just like the number of schools, which is divided into, or enrollment of students according to SC, ST, OBC. That also you can represent using a pie diagram. So whatever be the data you can use for a represent it by a pie diagram. And it is also very easy to understand also. So in the newspaper also you might have seen like this pi diagram means represent the things very simply, and any person can understand it very easily. The value of each category should be expressed in terms of degree measure. So since it is a circle, we are representing that inside a circle. So circle should be divided into different components according to the degree measure, so that whatever the data we are given, so first we will convert that data into percentage form, into degree measure. Then only we can measure it. Then you use a compass or scale, easily you can. And in order to measure the angle, you need a protractor also. You can construct it very easily. So how to construct it? Find the central angle for each component using the formula. I have shown in the next slide. So draw a circle of any radius. So according to your convenience, small circle, big circle, any radius you can take. Draw a horizontal radius, that is you need a starting line or a base you need, and from that you will start to divide. So center we will mark and you draw a base radius. Then again we will start measuring the angles, corresponding angles from that particular base radius. So starting with the horizontal radius, draw radii making central angles corresponding to the values of respective components, and repeat the process for all the components of given data. So here you can either convert this given value into percentage, then percentage into degree measure, or directly you can convert into degree measure also. And one more thing, suppose the data is given in percentage, that time also you can, because percentage value is component. For example, 40 percentage. So 40 percentage means we are writing as 40 by 100 into 360. Then suppose it is not given in any percentage, just like 2, 3, 4 like that it is given. Then you take that value of the component and total frequency, total value means the total frequency into 360. So in the both cases, we are converting into degree measure. So why do you take 360 degree here? Because the total degree measure of the, or total value of the circle is 360 degree. The 360 degree measure we are dividing into different components. So if you remember only this formula, value of the component divided by total value into 360 degree, because in the normal case for this, according to the B.Ed course, yeah, for teachers, always it is given, we are collecting the marks and number of students will be there. So you can direct usually the second formula. And suppose value is given, value you can convert into percentage, that percentage again you can convert into 360 degree also, yeah, degree measure also. But no need to go for that much confused calculation. You directly use the formula, value of the component divided by total value into 360 degree. You will get the corresponding degree measure of each value. Then you make the pie diagram. So here the same data that I have shown in the previous slide. First I have converted into percentage. That percentage is converted into degree measure, like that I have drawn. Here, for example, 25 to 30, it was 2. So 2 divided by 45 into 360 degree, like that you can draw. Or 2 means what percentage of 45? That is the 4 percentage. Then 4 by 100 into 360 degree, like that you have, we have drawn this. So if you don't want this type of pie diagram, you can go for the next, directly it converted into. So 25 to 30, 35 to the formula is 2 by, so for example, 25 to 30, the frequency was 2. So 2 by 45 into 360 degree. Like that, take the each frequency and convert into a degree measure. You start from any point, then you start a measure, degree measure. And the maximum it is 10, which is coming under 50 to 55. So easily it is, we can compare it to the different components to the total component. So if you don't know the percentage, yeah, suppose you have only this diagram, directly suddenly you can say that in the category of 25, 35, there are very few students. Even you don't know the correct number of students, but you can see in which category more number of students or the maximum number of students, that is 55 to 50 to 55 or 60 to 65 and 70 to 75 also. uh, uh, Less students are there, so like that you can uh, interpret it very easily, or if anybody sees this diagram they can understand also very easily. So that is why we are using this type of graphical representation in order to, so as a teacher, so you can use it in different way according to the different purpose. Any one of this diagram you can use, or three of them you can use, but depending on the data how you are getting it and according to the purpose. And suppose you wanted to compare 2 or 3 classes or 2 or 3 subjects, so which diagram should be used, this kind of things you should know. So nowadays everybody is very expert in Excel sheet, so you can directly enter this the data into the computer, you can get it easily. But as a teacher you must know which data or which diagram will be best suited for the particular data you have collected, and you can draw according to that. And using manually also you can construct it, and also using the Excel sheet also it is constructed very easily. So these are the 3 types of graphical representation we have in this particular syllabus in your B.Ed course. And also there are many number of diagrammatic representation is there, but here we are sticking only to that particular topic. And the same thing, some reference are given, is whatever we have discussed so far, you will get it directly even from a this how to construct it from high school books you will get, but still you have to make it. So according to us it is very important, means how you will use it for evaluation purpose, that is very important for us. So you can go through these books in order to know the theoretical background of that and how it will help the teacher for the evaluation purpose. Construction and other things you can get it very easily, but you have to go little more authentic as a teacher and how you will apply in the process of evaluation. So I hope everybody understood it very clearly and very simple method we have explained it. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best.